Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Tiger Stacker, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Frostbite Coins. How you doing, Frosty?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Much better than last week. Oh, for crying out loud! I thought I took care of all
Before
that
John D.
sound.
Rockefeller.
I apologize. I thought I handled all that. No, much better than last week. I'll tell you that much for sure.
Yeah, I know you've been dealing with a couple days of some roughness.
True. True. Just had some medical issues and grateful that we're getting through that. So I apologize to everyone for me being a delay in the whole process, but welcome everyone to the live stream. It's good to see you all here. Um, so why don't we get started right away? What's going on in the news?
Well, you've probably seen this. I'm going to pull that up. Go ahead and pull that up, Tiger, real quick.
Hold on.
If you haven't seen this already, there was some news that came out this weekend released by the United States Mint and the Treasury. And one of the things has to do with this thing. Anybody know what this is? If you said a nickel, of course, you're going to be right. But if you look down here, there's some changes, and they're talking about changing the subsection of 5112, chapter 31C, and taking it from a copper nickel to a composite, a blend of materials. And what are those two materials? Well, it's going to be zinc and nickel. And so if we come down here to the actual legislation, you'll actually see that the 5-cent coin may be inner layer of zinc, so 75% zinc, and an outer layer of nickel, so 25% nickel. Now, we know we did away with the cent. Well, not quite, because the cent isn't going anyway. By the way, Tiger, I don't know how long we've been saying this, but how long have we been saying that the nickel's not going away, or the penny's not going away?
Quite a while.
Yeah. So legislation, the way that it's deemed, says that they're not going to be producing them, but it still is legal tender. Right. And so the penny's not going away. It's still included in here. They're going to include it in mint sets. But they talked about the nickel. So the proposal, and it is a proposal right now, it's still going through the Senate. It's going to go through the different committees. And they're talking about making it zinc and layer. Now, anybody who knows anything about coins knows that zinc is a problem, and the nickels that we have now last 50, 60, 70 years. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with this. What's up, David Carlisle? How you doing? What do you guys think of this? What is the general concept? Tiger, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, it's just, to me, it just seems like another form of debasement. We've talked about this a little bit ago. I think you said it was like 11, 13 cents to make a nickel. And now it's getting closer to the price of the nickel being a nickel, 5 cents. I don't think the nickel's going to go away anytime soon, but it does seem to be heading in that direction with continued debasement when they can't figure out how to make the nickel cheaper in the future. They'll probably do away with that. And what we have still, maybe in mint sets, maybe in what's already out there in circulation, maybe in people's stacks, it'll still be there, but I just don't see it being used as much. But that's in the future, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I don't think they're getting rid of the nickel. I just don't think it's ever going to happen. I think it's going to maintain. Even you look at countries that got rid of the cent, they kept their nickel. I don't see that going away. But again, when you're talking about 12 cents or so per coin, if they can cut that in half, they're saving millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. And so it makes sense from a standpoint of that. However, you're going to have to mint more of them because they're only going to last a short amount of time frame. Whereas the nickel itself, we still find 1936, 1950, 1955 nickels that are in pretty decent condition. Nickels themselves don't strike very well, but we still find some that are in good shape. Why? Because they're that copper nickel. They are meant to survive. So there's going to be a give and take in this. Yes, it's going to save a little bit of money, but in the long term, they're going to have to do more of them. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. The cent here again, no effect on legal tender. Any 1 cent coin that is issued on or before the date of enactment shall remain legal tender. They are not getting rid of it. They're still going to put it in mint sets. We absolutely know that. But I don't know if there's a provision in there for them to remove it completely from circulation. The Secretary of the Treasury has the capability to do that themselves. And so I don't know if they're going to lean on that or if they're actually going to change. But this is the new legislation that's coming out. If you're looking for it, it's House Representative Bill number 3074. I'll take that link and throw it in the chat, and y'all can read the information as you wish. But yeah, so that's the news.
Oh, thanks for putting that in there for everyone, Frosty.
Yeah, absolutely. Oops, I closed that too soon.
No problem. That's pretty good information. It's I just think in time it's going to happen, but it's going to take a lot of time.
What I would rather see them do is I would rather see them put their effort into making our coinage nice again. The semi-quincentennial coinage is fabulous. They've done a great job. You know that I've run some information, Coin Show podcast, Mike Nodelman, and I put some stuff out, did a QR code, actually wrote a sample letter that you could write to your congressman or your senator saying, hey, we like this design. Let's think about doing this moving forward. I would really like to see them do some really nice stuff with this. They kind of dropped the ball on the penny and the cent for the semi-quincentennial. It is what it is. I'm kind of done being critical of the mint. Everybody knows where I stand on that. But I would really like to see them do some redesigns and get us some coinage that actually represent that we're proud of our heritage and not so much just relying on the architecture of old. It's time for a change. And I think hopefully Director Paul Hollis sees this, recognizes this, and some of these letters that we're sending out take notice. It'd be interesting to see. So hopefully it happens, but we'll see.
Yes, it will. Is there any chat on this? I didn't see him.
No, not really. It's really quiet. However, we have a really interesting topic today. So what is the topic of today?
Well, as many of you have seen in the thumbnail, let me bring up that thumbnail again. I apologize. Had it and it disappeared. As many of you have seen in the thumbnail, we will be discussing the bankruptcy of Roslyn Capital. I know it's not fresh news, but it is worth revisiting. When I found out about this, I had just released this video where I got taken. In that video, I discussed many of the things our community needs to be on the alert for. This company was an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau. They had not delivered somewhere in the neighborhood of $60 million to customers who had already paid for their precious metals. As I understand it, they are facing federal prosecution. In addition, they overpriced their products with a high premium. I personally recommend you all get your precious metals from a reputable dealer such as your local pawn shop, local coin shop, reputable online dealers that we all know. I do suggest that you have different items to verify your precious metals, such as a ping tester, a magnet, scale. Learn how to do the specific gravity, which I did educational videos on. And if you want, I can send you an Excel, Microsoft Excel spreadsheet on how to do it in case you don't like math. And if you can afford it, a Sigma Metalytics. Like other companies I've mentioned in this video that I just labeled up here for you, Roslyn Video was using a celebrity, namely William Devane.
Buy gold from Roslyn Capital.
Some, but not all, of my red flags aren't included in that video, such as, hold on a second here, such as, did I discover this vendor on a TV ad? Did they use a celebrity for endorsement? Did they show up at the top of the list of a Google search that they typically will pay for, by the way? Do they demand a massive minimum purchase, such as $10,000, which is what I experienced with American Hartford Gold in 2021, in order to do business with you? Are their prices cross-referenced with other online dealers that are known in our community and these companies that are in today's discussion higher than even, say, AppMex or any of the other ones? Are there sales representatives actively calling you and aggressively trying to close the deal? If you're
bullion shark.
What's that?
Bullion shark.
Yeah. If you're experiencing these things, remember, caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. So if you all will get a chance, it would be a really good idea, in my opinion, to watch the video that I made. It will cover it a little more exactly, but today we're going to discuss it online on here in the chat. So please bring your questions in chat, and we'll try to cover it. What do you say, Frosty?
So the part about this that really gets me is we talk about this all the time. Financial institutions not having the money to satisfy customer demands, right? This is something that Surfer has talked about, Yankees talked about, Salivate, Tiger and I, there's so many people that have talked about the fact that one of the problems with debt is the more money the bank gets, the more debt they issue out. Now, for them, it's a profit game, and I get that. But what happened, like here in Roslyn, is that, like many of the financial institutions that we've seen, they lack the liquidity to satisfy the demand. So what happens with that regard? Well, you take out a bunch of crap and you can't meet it. You can't pay it back. The major problem I have with this isn't the fact that they couldn't pay back their metals. If you're buying metals and you're waiting 6 months, shame on you, right? Cash and carry's king. But the place that really gets me is the fact that they were actually utilizing a man named Mr. Hogan, who was the CRO, who was the debt manager. That person actually created something in which they utilized their precious metals, and from that took an IRA. So people's IRAs were put into this and they didn't have the metal to back it up. And what happened? They lost it. So there were people who put their entire life savings into this thinking it's a good idea, and they got jacked. And that's the major problem that I have with this particular company. Oh, by the way, where does this company hail, Tiger?
Where does it held?
Where does it hail from? Where does it come from? Where's the root?
I didn't look that up.
Most people haven't. Hong Kong.
Oh, sheesh.
Oh, God. Yeah. Think about this a little bit. Right. So now the company itself is located in Delaware. Okay. But the primary benefactor, and I'm going to provide this. If anybody wants to know more about this, I'm dropping a link in chat right now. This is Bondoro. This is the Roslyn Capital, the LLC case. This is the declining profitability, talking about the range between 113 and 151 million but they talk about the reporting revenue over years, and you see it drop and drop and drop and drop and drop. And so year after year after year after year, more and more gold was dropped out and they couldn't pay it back. When this really became a problem for them was just about 9 months ago. What happened 9 months ago?
Let me see here. It was we were still in the late aspect of 2025, and gold prices had gone up, but especially silver prices were going up.
So here's the thing. Anybody who's good at math knows that if you, and we talked about with Steve and some of the other people who do the racers, they ran into this problem too, right?
Okay.
The problem is when you do this and gold jumps up 50% and you're sitting on having to pay somebody that difference, but you don't have it yet, you have to pay the new price to pay the person whose price was half of what that was. What do you think this did to their revenue stream?
It decreased because they had to pay more when someone bought it previously at a set price that was less.
It crucified them. They were toast. There was no way that they could actually do anything to support themselves, and their losses were substantial, right? And so that's why they filed the Chapter 11. Now, again, order from somebody. SD bullion doesn't matter. If it's hero bullion, doesn't matter. If it's whatever. If they tell you it's going to be 5 months before you get your order, sorry, I'm not ordering from you. I will expect my order in 2 weeks. If it's not there within 2 weeks, cancel my order, give me my money back, or go somewhere else. I'm not waiting for the order and delivery of precious metals. It's foolish. Cash and carry. Go to your local shop and buy it. Yeah, it might be a couple dollars more, but you have the security of mind of having your metals in hand. Things happen overnight. And the thing that really gets me, really ticks me off, is the fact that they did this with people's IRAs. This is another pry to the older community. Now, we talk about older people getting scammed all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just another pry. It's just another shaft. And yes, they're going after them, but what's the end result going to be? I don't know. And that's the problem that I have. That's the real situation.
The little people's only going to get screwed because they don't have enough money to cover it. In fact, since we talked about that, I'll just go into something that I did look into from another YouTuber. I haven't actually found it, but then again, I don't have your research capability, where they are actually selling information on their customers to get money to start paying some, but not all of their bills. So, I mean, it's scammy whammy.
So that's not a scam. First off, if you sign up with anybody online and you're not reading the terms and conditions, then it's your own butt. You got nobody to blame but yourself. One of the problems that exist in society today and working in an IT world, read your terms of service. You guys would be surprised what you give away when you just click that button without looking. The only way you can avoid that is to opt out, and you have to opt out. Many times, if you opt out, you actually opt out of the service. And so if you have an IRA with them and you have your information with them, it is not illegal if you have an opt out for them to sell your information. That's not crooked. That's not a scam. It might be a little underhanded, but it's just the fact the way it is. Data is king, right? More than silver and gold. Data is king. And so, yes, they can gain some of the money back, but you have rights as a person to withdraw that and say, no, I do not approve of that. I want to remove that. And there are applications that you can do and services that you can purchase that for a very nominal amount, you can request that people remove that data so that they can't sell it from the data brokers. So if you want no more information about that, Tiger and I can bring that to your attention, but it's not illegal and it's not a scam. So be aware of that.
Would that be a good topic for us on our next Stack Collector on your channel?
If you want to, if people are interested in that, just have them comment in chat. If we get enough interest, I'll absolutely do something on that.
Okay, because I know we've talked in the past about different types of crappy things that can happen to people, true outright scams, and plus now this one. So, and both you and I, others too, but both you and I work really hard at trying to protect the community. So I just thought, since we're on that topic, I just had that thought, figured I'd ask it.
Yeah. And so again, if there's enough people in chat that come back and say, hey, yeah, Frosty, we would definitely like to know, how do you opt out? What kind of services are out there? There's tons of videos. I mean, if you just Google opt out of data miners, a lot of information will come up. Make sure you find a reputable source. There are a couple of them. If you want specific information, you don't necessarily want to watch an entire video, you just want to know some information, let us know. I'll put some comments down in Tiger's chat when this is done so the people are aware of it. But if you want a full-on discussion about this, let me know and we'll coordinate.
So if you want to just if you want us to cover this, just put a 1 in the chat. If you don't, put a 2.
But don't put 2 because that's a 2-2 and that means something else.
That's really bad. That's just really bad. Emil wants to.
Oh. You want to hear something really funny?
What's that?
Guess what city investigation has basically been dead when it comes to this particular debtor and this particular situation?
Hong Kong?
No. U.S. city. Based on the investigations that have been done, what city has the investigation essentially stalled?
I wouldn't know.
I'm going to leave this up to chat. I'm not going to answer. I want chat to answer. I want you guys to think about the people we have in office and the cities that are around the United States, and think about somebody who would just block this stuff. Put that stuff in chat. Somebody gets the right answer, I'll send them one of the brand new poker chips.
Heck, if they get it right, I'd throw in some swag also.
I'm not going to say it, but you got to guess. We'll get chat moving this way.
I have no idea. If I tried, I would be totally guessing. West Texas Stacker says New York City.
West Texas Stacker needs to send me an email because I got a poker chip for you. New York City, the investigation basically has become inactive. Since 2023, there's not been a thing really gone on there. And do you guys have any idea why? Well, I don't really need to tell you. We pretty much know why. The only people who are really investigating this is the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. And why are they engaged? Because of the metal-backed IRAs. That's where the real situation is in this story. The gold, yes, it's a pain in the butt. It's a big problem. But the IRAs, that's where they cross. That's where they blew federal lines. It's such a debacle. It's absolutely horrible. I feel bad for the people who put their life savings into this. Folks, this company, as Tiger stated before, was an A+ rated company. You can't always trust your ratings. You need to do your research. And again, before you make any major financial moves of your money, before you change anything or decide to invest in somebody, consult a genuine financial advisor. People can make stuff sound so amazing. And then when you're done, you have no idea what happened. Be very careful with this. Find a good financial advisor, ask them some hard questions, then make your decisions. Act, don't react. And a lot of people, it sounded so good to them. And now they've basically lost everything. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens when the SEC rules on this and what they're going to be required to pay back. And hopefully they get a good portion of their money back, but I'm not sure. It's going to be interesting to see.
By the way, West Texas Stacker also send me an email. Tell me what swag you'd like to have. Good call.
So let's see, remember folks, YouTube stacking channels are not financial advisors. So that is true. Here's the thing. It's not even common sense, right? I hate that term. Tiger, you know why I hate that term, right?
I sense a dad joke coming.
No. Absolutely 100% genuinely serious. Do you know why I hate the term common sense?
Because it's not so common.
Absolutely. That's exactly right. Common sense is only common if everybody in the room has it. If you go to the South and you say you want grits, most people are going to know what you're talking about. But if I go up to Minnesota, they may have no idea what grits is. Does that mean they lack common sense? No, they just lack the notion of what that means because they're not in that particular region, right? So I don't like the term common sense. If you're dealing with a bunch of doctors who are all doing something, yes, maybe that's fine. If you're dealing with a bunch of financial people in a financial situation, they all work at a bank and you're talking bank politics, yes, then that makes sense. But in our world, we have every walk. There's no way to be able to do that, right? Again, yeah, speculative, just like metals, right? So you're making an assumption based off of what your knowledge level is. And so I don't like the fact of common sense. But there are legislative rules, requirements, executive orders, and Tiger and I talk about those all the time. It's important to understand those. But if you're going to find a shop, build a relationship with the shop. If you're going to build it with a financial advisor, build that relationship with that advisor. Talk with them, get to know. If they don't tell you, this really isn't a good call for you, then maybe they're not in your camp, because sometimes the hard truth is what they need to hear. This was one of those, and Tiger, in your video, you talked about this. Why don't you explain, if you can, because obviously you made the video, you're way better than I am, about the other video about, is it Hartford American Gold?
American Hartford Gold.
That one. There you go.
Yeah.
Explain what happened there.
Okay. I was new to stacking, and it was 2021. I had failed yet again on stock. I had failed on crypto for the first time because it was my first time. Not as bad as the stocks. And I was watching TV with, I think it was a Fox episode, and they brought up Bill O'Reilly, who talked about American Hartford Gold. It's the only company I would trust with my precious metals, blah, 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 blah. So, I thought, well, he's giving good advice on Fox, so he probably is giving me good advice on this. So I went ahead and contacted him, didn't know much about anything. I had some dry powder in my bank, and they wouldn't take anything less than $10,000 as a minimum payment. And it was a pain in the butt dealing with them, but I kind of thought, well, it's precious metals. Maybe that's just the way things go. I didn't know any better. I was just finding YouTube, and I was just finding people like Lynette Zhang. I didn't get that far into it at that point. So it took me a while to get it done. It took me almost 2 months to get what I bought from them. And then about a month later, I was doing emails, and you know how the internet, well, maybe you don't know how, but you know that the internet somehow monitors what we do, what we buy. They started throwing me advertisements for a company called Money Metals Exchange. And so I'm like, what's this? So I started exploring it, started looking at their prices, and every single item that I price compared, I got snookered really bad by them. I got two gold Volcambi combi bars, 50 grams each. They charged me approximately $500 more than what what Money Metals Exchange charged me per bar. So I started looking at the whole thing, and I was like, if I go ahead and call this company after all the hassle I had trying to get it, I might not get my money back. If I send the metals back to them, I might not be able to get my metals. I might not be able to get my money back. And then I'm seriously out. So I decided not to complain to the company and chalked it up to an expensive tuition. But in the meantime, I was already starting to learn from the local pawn shop that I go to. They were teaching me about silver and gold items and all that type of stuff, while I was just now, at that time, learning about stuff through Lynette Zhang, Yankee, Silver Dragons, a number of others, and started realizing I got taken. But on the other side of the coin, like I said, I chalked it up to education, to tuition, and promised myself I will always let people know, what happened to me. So for a long time, I've been thinking about doing that video, very long time. I talked to some of my friends of mine who are attorneys to make sure that I didn't get hit up with liability, defamation of character, slander, and all those other types of things. And then I finally did the video. What was it? 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 years after it happened. No, about 5 years. About 5 years after it happened to me, because I still think people need to know about these type of companies, and they all seem to fit the same pattern. Roslyn, American Hartford Gold, Gold Co., Birch Gold, Nolan Gold, and then a bunch of others. They all follow the same pattern. And especially in my case, I never did anything with Nolan Gold. And there for a long time, they were calling me approximately every 6 months, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. Approximately every 6 months, the clear blue air. I thought that it was a straight scammer. And then I started calling and checking on the phone number, and had a friend of mine check. It was Nolan Gold. They're talking to me like they were my best friend, that we've been talking about it in the past. And I'm like, I've never talked to you. Lose my number. And then you got your other types that I would get phone calls from companies, alleged companies in New York, frequently spoofing a West Virginia phone number, talking to me like they were my best buddies. And the first one happened in 2021. They're talking to me like they hadn't talked to me in a year, and they had a bunch of BU 90% Kennedy half dollars. And it says, we talked about this a year ago. A year ago? I said, yeah, it was August of 2021. So we talked in August 2020. Yeah. Oh, okay. So we talked when I had no clue about anything about precious metals. Dead silence. And I told them, because I'm very protective, I said, don't call me again, lose my number. And if you ever show up on my property, I will invest you with the fourth precious metal called lead. So be very, very careful. Use your wits about you. I mean, I didn't even know that these types of scammers existed back then, but use your brains. God gave you all a great deal of intelligence. Use it. You all are stackers, so you have some degree of intelligence about finances, about the decreasing value of the dollar, and a number of other things that we talk about here. Make sure if something feels wrong, your gut's screaming at you, listen to it. So, and be very careful of these online people, and especially if they also call you cold call you out of the blue. So, I hope I covered everything.
What does everybody think of this? Has anybody else been in a situation similar to this? I know that one of the things Tiger and I talk about all the time is even reputable sources and people we knew in the community still overcharged us for a number of things. And Tiger, you and I have spent a bunch of money with people that we go back and look at. It's like, oh my God, I spent way too much money.
Oh yeah.
When you're supporting a channel and you're doing stuff like that, I have less issue with that than when somebody's going to promise you something, make it sound like you're getting an amazing deal. And unfortunately, you're going to find that in the community as well. It's just an unfortunate part about it. Not all of the people that run inside our circle are stand-up people. Most of them are, but you're going to have people that, number one, the person who doesn't understand business and doesn't do it to be ignorant, they just don't know. That is a real thing. But number two is the people that utilize that relationship to do that. And so it's something you have to be careful with. This is why Tiger and I and many other people in the community try to come together and bring you good, solid information. Because we can't assume that everybody in this community knows about stacking silver and gold despite being in it. We can't assume that everybody in this community knows about precious metals and precious coins or key date coins, because as Tiger and I clearly found out the other day, we were having a great conversation with somebody who is extremely knowledgeable, and they couldn't tell me anything about the 1928 peace dollar. It's a key date. It's a very expensive coin. They had no idea about it. Doesn't mean they're ignorant. Doesn't mean they're foolish. It's just shame on us if we think that people do know, because they don't necessarily do so. So as educators, it's important for us to make sure that we understand and recognize that. Hey, what's up, OC? How you doing, shellfish?
Hey, OC.
Shellfish. I said shellfish. I've been watching International. That's what it is.
What about
but Tiger, I mean, go ahead.
What about International?
Oh, shellfish. I said I've been watching
Oh,
International.
Crustacean Nation.
Crustacean Nation. Yeah. Anyway, just a bad call out. How many times have you been dealing with somebody that you thought understood, and you mentioned something about metals you thought was basic, and they were like, "Oh, I don't know what that means."
A lot, and that used to be me.
Yeah. And so this is something we do. OC's joking around. 28's a key date. Not the 28S, but the 28 and the 21. They're the two keys in the series. And so, yeah, but there's other coins. Tiger, you and I talked about this when we did the peace dollar change, right?
Mhm.
Going through different ones. And we found a number of them that he doubled his stack and I got the numismatic pieces. It was a win-win. So find people in the community who are willing to work with you. You can get good prices, but remember, folks, silver and gold doesn't go on sale like clothing, right? You're not going to find a 50% off deal. You have to be smart in that regard. There are some truths that are undeniable. Gold will never be 50% off. If it's 50% off, it might be the Liberty Bell token that the United States Mint sent out.
Mhm.
Because, a lot of people sent them back and they're back on sale on the US Mint's website after supposedly having been sold out. The two
Really?
gold ones are back on there. Now, the silver ones are still gone, but the gold ones reappeared. Most likely because people couldn't flip them, and so they sent them back. So very interesting to see what happens with that. So again, the biggest one in this, right? The bottom line, from my point is, even though something sounds good, it smells like a cookie, it tastes like a cookie, it crumbles like a cookie, doesn't necessarily mean it's a cookie. So do your research, do your due diligence. And like I said on Sunday, the story that I told on Sunday, doing everything right doesn't mean it's going to turn out all roses. Things still go wrong. And that is just a part of dealing in metals. And that's just a fact of life.
True. And not just on metals, but anything. You know, things can go sideways on any topic.
Well, I mean, look at what happened with you and your health, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't something that was planned, but if it wouldn't have been for you stacking and learning something about this a couple years ago, what kind of situation would you have been in?
I'd probably be losing my house and cars and other things because, like I said many times before, I believed all the governmental garbage, you know, that everything's going to be taken care of. Go buy what you want. You deserve it. Da, 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 da. There is a thing I tried to teach my son when he thought he was entitled and to other things. And I looked at him and said, "You're entitled to two things. You're entitled to die and you're entitled to pay your taxes. Everything else you got to earn." So, this right here, let me get this crummy company out of the way. This right here, that has, you know, allowed me to pay my bills. I only sell the bare minimum so I can hold on to it for as long as I can. In the meantime, like I've always said, I've been trying to get a part-time job. But, you know, before we found the fact that I have cancer, plus or minus a year before we found it, yeah, I was already knocked down once, twice actually for sepsis. You know, not just, you know, that was only a temporary knockdown. You know, last week I didn't do stack collector simply because I had a complication. My body had changed, and I no longer need the blood pressure medicine. It knocked me down for 2 days because the either the pill got too strong or my body just doesn't need it anymore. So, you know, for a couple of days, I couldn't do anything, and it took me a while to get myself back up and running again. So you don't know when you're going to get hit with something, um, and in the meantime, I'm still trying my best to get a part time job so I can, you know, you know, not rely upon selling my savings so I can pay the bills. But you never
You
know
should
when
become a lover.
What's that?
You should become a lover.
Oh hell, I'm too old for that now.
No, because then you'd be a part-time lover. Part-time lover. Anyway, bad joke. Sorry.
Do you ever say any other type?
Not at all. I told you I have jokes. I never said they were good.
Silence! I kill you!
So, but yeah, I think this is a good story. I think it's a good reminder that things can go bad. Also, it's important. Again, a lot of people don't realize this, but the company's backing came from Hong Kong. So make sure you understand where the major business dealings that you're investing in, make sure you know where those are coming from. Make sure you know where the business you invest in is doing their business. I'm not saying that overseas is a problem. I'm just saying be informed. Do your due diligence, do your work. Caveat emptor. What does that really mean, Tiger?
Let the buyer beware.
What does that mean?
Means usually if you get suckered, you're not going to get things fixed financially.
So resorts originally around real estate. And that was if you don't do your research. For instance, we have a good friend of ours that is into real estate, purchases basically for the trees on the land. They do whiskey barrels and stuff. And that money is replenishable because when they cut it down, they plant the trees, they go through the little cycle. And by the time they get to the end and they restart, those trees are growing and it's a continuous regenerative cycle. You have to maintain the land and do what else. But if there's a toxic spill or something on there and you don't notice it, well, if you own that land and it's identified, guess who gets to pay that bill? You do. Caveat emptor means do your due diligence. You better learn all the information about whatever it is you're getting into because you might get stuck with it. And so caveat emptor doesn't just mean, oh, well, hey, be careful. It means you better be doing your due diligence. If you're buying silver and gold, know how to test it. If you're buying numismatics, know how to identify counterfeit versus authentic. If you're going to be buying a slabbed coin, you see 4 slabs there on your screen. Know what a real slab is, because sometimes those slabs, they give it away. They can tell you that the item inside is not genuine. And so do your due diligence. If you're interested in something, learn everything you can about it and be the best at it you can be. That's what caveat emptor means.
It makes absolutely good sense.
West Texas Stacker says, do pizza delivery. A lot of stack up on the pizza delivery. No taxes. They average about $100 a night in tips. It's a great part-time job. And if you can avoid being hungry, you won't eat into your profits.
True.
Yeah, I did pizza delivery when I was younger. Worked in a really, really kind of weird area. We had both really poor and very wealthy. And the kind of the middle lower always tipped better. When we got big orders to the wealthy places, we knew we were never getting big tips. The big tips I always got when we delivered to businesses. That was kind of where the money was for us.
Yeah, that happened to me when I was a caddy. I worked at a country club, same country club my dad worked at when he was in his teenage years. And the wealthy people, they hardly tipped you. And the worst of them, no offense, ladies, but the worst of them were the wealthy ladies. They would blame the caddy for all their bad golf games, and they would have one caddy doing the work for 4 different ladies. And, you worked that hard and you got nothing or close to nothing. So, yeah. I came from a middle-class family and, we always tipped a lot better than what the rich people did.
Yeah, and I'm not saying everybody who has money is bad. Don't get me wrong in that regard. It's just that's what we saw when I was young.
Well, yeah.
Honestly, 100% what I experienced seems like people have. Well, and I learned this from a man who was very, very, very wealthy. He was very giving, but if there was something that was standard, and this is why if you guys look at the thing now, the tips come in part of your initial payment, right? You want to offer a tip. It just takes you to 15, 20, or 25%. You just hit the button and move on. Nobody thinks about it anymore. But back in the day, in order for somebody to receive a tip, you had to do something special. And so there were times where I would get there and I'm like, oh, they forgot they forgot to order soda. And they're like, didn't I order soda? And I show them the way bill. It's like, no, there's no soda on here. And they're like, oh crap, I got a bunch of kids and no soda. I'm like, well, give me just a minute. I'm going to take $2 of your tip and I'm going to go buy soda. I'll be back. I'd go grab 2 1-liters and I'd come back. And you know what? I always got great tips, 20, 25, $30. Sometimes the tip was even more so. Why? Because I took care of them. And a lot of people who have money expect that. They expect that you're going to take care of them because they don't have money because they just give it away. Now, if they're going to donate and offer to a worthy cause, that's fine. A lot of people who are not very good with managing money, they give you lots of tips because they don't pay attention to it. They don't really understand how that adds up. They don't understand how it impacts their finance. And so, if you're going to have a job like that, just go the extra mile. When you get there, grab some napkins or something. Said, "Hey, you didn't ask for it, but I got you some hot pepper and some, some of the other stuff. Throw one or two extra in there." If it's a person that orders all the time and they like something, I used to do this all the time. I would talk to my manager and it's like, "Hey, I know that their little girl loves breadsticks. They didn't order breadstick. Can I throw one breadstick in there? I'm going to put a little note on the box and say, for Shirley, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, absolutely." And I deliver it. I'm like, "Hey, there's something in here for Shirley. You guys have a good one." And then they would leave and they'd call my manager and say, "Oh my God, you know how happy she was?" It's little things like that that can go a really long way. So if you're in service and you have the capability to do so, a little bit really does go a long way.
Hmm. And usually, to get a comment about doing a great job, it, in my opinion, you got to do a double great job, as opposed to doing a crappy job. The people, very rarely people will bring up what you did right, but they'll never stop talking about what you did wrong. So, we had a hostess at Quaker Steak and Lube, young girl, platinum blonde hair, and they're blasting the music, which they typically do. And I couldn't hear her, just couldn't hear her worth a hoot. And I was trying my best to hear her, and she couldn't hear me, and so I increased the volume. And then she's like, "Why can't you just be kind?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me? We come here all the time." So I ended up talking to the manager. I said, "Just teach her. Don't fire her. Just teach her. That she needs to be considerate of her surroundings." But it could have been someone else that says, you know, made it so horrible that the girl would have lost her job. The bottom line is that you gotta use your brain. So
I'm in trouble
why is that?
because you said I got to use my brain.
Silence! I kill you!
I have Dane Bradman.
Oh, crap.
If David would say, "Hi, Matt T, what's going on, bud? How you doing?" Thank you all for being here. I know it's been a little while since we've done this, and appreciate you guys coming in and hanging with us. Means a lot.
It does. It does. And especially because we really want everyone out there to get protected, get educated, teach your children and grandchildren all that. Hey, scrap metal, how you doing? So, but we want you all to do well. So,
So what you got on the docket, Tiger?
well, I am working on a video that it's gonna be a little bit of a remake. I think it's going to be slightly improved from what I did initially. I was planning on releasing it Friday, but we had an emergency. My wife got attacked by a dog, so I had to, be a nurse plus dealing with recovering from the medication changes. So that's going to come out this week instead of last week. I do apologize to everyone for not being able to produce content last week because of the situations I was contending with. So, but that's coming out this week. I'm trying to get another great interview to come onto the channel. By the way, if any of you are interested, we had a really good interview with Makar Majoud. on my channel that he talked about what can be done not only with stacking physical metals for your investment purposes, but all that. But he's promised to be a regular. So if you all would be so kind as to send me emails what topics you want covered, I can design the next interview for things that you want covered, and just put it in the email as questions that you want exactly the way you want it answered, and I'm sure that he'll be willing to explain it to you. So that's going to be coming up pretty soon. And I do want to say, if you all get a chance to go see my interview that I had with Jesse Day. This guy is pretty intelligent. He has beat the S&P 500 5 years in a row, maybe 6. There's a whole lot of information he gives out. And he's also done something called a boot camp, and the links are all in the description. So I really want you to learn. I mean, holding physical is by far your baseline. It's the foundation for your house. But I want you all, that if you want to look into other ways to build your wealth, check it out. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, but I want you to have as many options as possible out there. So I try to make sure that I get really strong, educated people to do the interviews. So feel free to check out that. What you got coming up, Frosty?
Well, before we do that, how do you feel about China putting stop to paper metals training? Or was that even a thing? I like what Silver Serpent said. I think it's a step in the right direction. But we kind of undid it. We made it easier for it. So I think that they moved that direction because they know that there is inherent problems with it. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But again, that's another topic for discussion. We can probably do that a little bit later.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. You and I can talk about it off camera, but
Yeah, certainly.
I think that there is we're in deep doggy doo doo. I'll just leave it at that. So that's where I'm going to leave it. But I think it would be a great topic for another stack collector.
We probably will do that before, because it'll be a month out. So that might be old news by then.
Okay.
This weekend, I want you guys to be paying attention to the channel. I've got 2 things that aren't quite normal for my channel. Both of them are special guests. One of them has to do with the coin that you see in front of you, and this is going to be with Jack Young. This is a 1794 Talbot Adam and Lee cent. It is counterfeit. And he sent this to me to do some research. Taken a number of images. I've reached out to a couple different people, even reached out to the British Museum and said, I know you guys have some counterfeits of this type that are electrotype. I would like to have some information. Sent them the photos, and they're going to be connecting me with one of their folks. The output of that, if it happens before Sunday, we will be discussing that. But on Saturday, Copper Coins, it's Chuck Daughtry's birthday, and he is releasing his brand new website. If you guys like cents, he's the king of Lincoln cents. This guy wrote the book on this, and he has an amazing resource. We're going to be talking about something different. A lot of people are going to be like, well, he's releasing a site. That's what you're going to be talking about. We're actually not. We're going to be talking to something that's going to be a little bit controversial. And that is the utilization of AI. Some people like it, some people don't. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and the extremely beneficial. There are things that people need to know. There are facts that people need to be aware of, and we're going to discuss that. So if you're interested in that topic, share it out. If you know AI generators, if you're against it, Bring people who don't like it. The more the merrier. But join me Saturday morning with Chuck Daughtry, and we're going to have the conversation.
Sounds like a good one.
It should be.
I might even wake up for that one.
Yeah, but it's going to be a good topic. I think you guys will enjoy it.
And just for you, those of you who don't understand, I'm normally a night owl. Years of working in the ER at nighttime. So
yeah, he's going to bed the time that I'm getting up.
So, but if it's really something awesome, I'll go ahead and get in and get on that one. Well, I've got it. I think I've covered everything I've got on my plate. How about you?
I already ate. You're the one that's hungry. Sorry.
Silence! I kill you!
I know. At least you didn't say gold back. But anyway, no, I don't have anything else. I just want to say thanks again for everybody for being here.
Silence!
Here we go with the gold back stuff. Okay. Love you, man.
I know you do. I appreciate you too. But thank you all for being here. Seriously, it's been a few weeks. Thanks for being patient. And again, showing Tiger grace. Make sure you send people to watch this. Let's get his channel to grow. I want my channel to grow, but I've realized something. I would much rather my channel stay small and give you good, reliable information than worry about growing too much. I'm doing some things that are going to be coming out. They're going to help Tiger and I, but they're going to really help you as a community, not just stackers, not just collectors, but the community as a whole. So I want you to pay attention to it. Go check it out. We'll talk more about it, but more good things to come from us.
Sounds good. Well, guys, thank you all for coming. Thanks, Frosty, for co-hosting.
Absolutely.
Okay. So good night, everyone. Please pay attention to the channels, hit the like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Help us build the channels and spread the word. So good night, everyone.
Ciao.